incredibly sad lately. I'll start playing a game and then just immediately stop for some reason, not wanting to commit to it. That's why I've been doing all the tier lists. They just make me feel better and they take up time. Give me something to talk about. So I want to talk about this one first. This one is going... It should be, honestly, down here, but the gameplay I feel is solid enough to warrant a B tier. This video, which I'll leave a link to, takes the words out of my mouth. If you want a really good systematic breakdown on why this game genuinely is just massively overhyped, a quick TLDR is they ruined every single character compared to the original. They made unnecessary changes to the story compared to the original that changed the plot in pretty substantial ways. The gameplay, while fun, is different enough to warrant that it might just be worse, depending on what you look for. Like, for example, you never have to worry about ammo or any of the survival horror elements. They ruined the characters, they changed the plot in a negative way, and they changed it from a survival horror experience into an action game experience. And all of that really does warrant the fact that it is just straight up worse than the original. And honestly, after watching that video, I went back and replayed the original Resident Evil 2. And yeah, it's not just nostalgia talking. RE2, the original, really does it. Somehow it aged better than the fucking newly released remake. The only people who I find disagreeing with this notion are retarded Zoomer children and just the generic like Reddit trash who like something has to be new and shiny and it has to like, you know, look good, etc. Code Veronica is honestly pretty great. The stretchy arm guys are really annoying. I personally like Steve, but I know he pisses some people off. This game is pretty much mandatory to understand RE5 with Wesker and why he's so strong. This game added to the world building and the lore of Resident Evil in a nice, substantial way. It also makes Resident Evil 6 seem less shit, if I'm being honest, because it does at least establish the idea that there are these families messing around with bioweapons, you know, somewhat independent of Umbrella. So it's not as shocking to just see, like, random cults come in and destroy cities. It's not good, but it's less shocking. This game, however, I honestly want to put it up here, but I can't in good conscience. This game, if you don't know what it is a 3DS game where it's just Resident Evil 5 Mercenaries. Resident Evil 5 had, like, the best mercenaries in the franchise, and this is just that, but with, like, 20 characters and a bunch more maps. Also, it leads to this. That is Krauser in the RE, like, upscaled to RE5, teaming up with jacked RE5 Chris on the RE4 map. I just felt the need to point that out. But yeah, this just straight up also allows you to play RE4 Mercenaries with the RE5 mechanics. You can play the RE4 characters on the RE4 maps just in the back of mom's car. Yeah, sure, as a Resident Evil game, this is fucking down here. But this is a standalone mode rip that got expanded on, and it's fucking phenomenal. The original Resident Evil, I've got to put it just in good. The voice acting is fucking terrible. The dialogue is bad. Some people will say that, like, the cheesy dialogue is endearing. You only think that because you played it at either an emotionally vulnerable time in your life or what's it called? Like a fucking oh, I'm not supposed to do those. Sorry. You either played it at an emotionally vulnerable time or when you were younger. Also, this game is just kind of retroactively made worse by this game existing. Anyway, Umbrella Chronicles has to be... It can't really go above good, but it can't really go below it either. If you don't know what this is, it is an on-rails Wii shooter that just kind of retells the story of some of Resident Evil's, like, the first game's events. It's not bad. It's not good either. It's an on-rails Wii shooter. It's got some cool bonuses. It's got some nice mechanics. I like shooting things off to the side, picking up new weapons on the fly, deciding what weapon to use. It's, you know. I'm not the biggest RE6 hater on the planet, but I'm not a lover either. I don't like the gameplay changes. I don't like how... This feels like... So, Resident Evil 2, the remake, feels like RE4 gameplay done justice if you wanted to modernize it. Resident Evil 6 was their first attempt to modernize RE4 gameplay, and God does it show. You have none of the progression of 4 or 5. You have none of the solid gameplay that tank controls allowed, that tight, snappy, arcadey feel. And so you gave up a lot of the positives, and you introduced a whole lot of new negatives. I'll be honest, I never played this one, so it's going down here. The Resident Evil remake is a fucking S-tier masterpiece. They changed like 10% of the game compared to the original, true. So it's not a faithful remaster. But so the RE1 remake, I think, is how they should have done all the RE remakes. Change very slight things. Keep the characters exactly the same. Keep the story exactly the same. And only do minor tweaks to the dialogue. You know, instead of, you almost became a Jill sandwich, just have like, you almost got squashed, if you want to do it more seriously. Something like that. The exact same point gets across, and you don't make any changes to the characters. Also, if you play this with modern controls, you're a bitch. The original Resident Evil 2 is a fucking god-tier masterpiece, and I will not hear any slander otherwise. This game is fucking awesome. I'm not even going to talk about this, because there's nothing I could say. Just go play it. On the other end of the spectrum, the Resident Evil 4 remake. I honestly feel like it hovers around here. This is also going to be blasphemy to some people, but listen, as the biggest let's just get this out of the way. As the biggest Resident Evil 4 dick sucker possible, I have so many memories, and my mom can corroborate this. I had so many memories of playing this game as a child on the couch with my PlayStation 2, pretending to be like a YouTuber or whatever, talking, just playing the game hundreds of fucking times. I am the biggest Resident Evil 4 dick sucker. I will glaze the fuck out of this game. Okay, I have a biased love for this game that can never be beaten. The remake, however, is just fucking worse. First off, let's just get the gameplay out of the way. Oh my god. The original RE4, Leon never missed. He had very slight shake, and the laser gave your bullets near 100% accuracy. In the remake, you have this garbage system of a blooming modern reticle where you aim and it's like Uncharted style. You fucking aim and like the reticle has to like collapse to be accurate. And then every shoot blooms it so that it adds like random shot spread. It makes the game, that single change makes the game feel like garbage to fucking play. It makes it feel like trash. It makes it feel so fucking bad. It makes it feel so unbelievably fucking bad. The amount of times in Resident Evil 4 where you try to take a shot that is more than medium range, or is medium range or longer, and you hit the first shot, and then the second shot, even though you're still on the exact same target, misses because of the RNG aiming. Fuck, dude, this is so obvious if you try to gold medal all of the, merchant's shooting gallery things. It is impossible. I'm gonna say this, it is impossible without like 100 hours of practice and prep and like retries to do every merchant challenge start from finish first try with a gold medal, hitting all the weak spots, even if you know where they all are, because you just straight up, you will take a shot and it will miss through no fault of your own. That is an objective provable thing. Parrying is great. They completely ruined the story of this game, by the way. Sadler has no motivation. He's never explained. Ironically enough, this game has worse writing than the original somehow. Sadler has no motivation. In the original, he didn't like America policing the world, and he went, let's just put this up here because I'm talking about it as well. In the original, he wanted America to stop policing the world. So his plan was to infect Ashley, send her home, infect the president, and then basically take over the world from there. Okay, sure. In RE4 Remake, his plan is literally never explained. The cutscene where he would explain this was removed. And there's no banter, so he can't hint at it. He's literally just evil for the sake of being evil. They oh my god, and the voice acting. So if you don't know, around the time RE2 remake was being made, Capcom decided not to work with with union voice actors anymore. So now they only work with these ununionized pieces of trash, and it really shows. Dude, the RE4 remake voice actress has 0 voice acting experience. It is her first time voice acting in anything. So I will say this, as a bit of a biased emotional reaction, imagine my face when I fucking found that my beloved childhood game was getting remade, where some of the key talent, it would be their first time ever working on a video game. Okay, that is no way to respect one of the most legendary games in their entire repertoire, and it really goes to show that they just did not give a fuck when remastering this game. They only wanted her because she was Asian. Dude, there were rumors, okay, well, quote unquote rumors. Really, it was a disgruntled ex-employee leaking internal company memos. But this bitch literally was saying shit like, if you don't cast me as the voice actress, you're racist. You know, I'm an Asian woman and I played her on the television show, so you should make me the voice actor, etc., etc. Just all kinds of awful shit. And because of the pandemic, she wouldn't even go into the studio to record. She sent in recordings from her home microphone like I'm doing right now. Like, oh my god, there's just so many problems with this remake. The story's worse, the writing is subpar, the voice acting is terrible as a result of all the voice actors having very little experience. Just I have a personal hatred for this game. Oh, and then they added microtransactions that broke everything. You can get like 3 million pitas off of the first merchant by the microtransactions. You can also start with overpowered infinite ammo weapons, and that won't void your ranks. So if you look up a guide to S plus professional mode, everybody just tells you just buy a few golden tickets so you don't have to stop for treasure, and you could just max out the hand cannon right away. And it's like you have an unlimited ammo weapon that one-shots everything but like 2 bosses, and you have unlimited money. Dude, God, I'm genuinely getting fucking sadder talking about this. This remake was awful. People who glaze it are only doing so because it's good. I'm just going to call this right now. In 10 years, people will still talk about how much of a masterpiece this is. People will not talk about this game. I never played Gaiden because I never had a Game Boy Color. Nemesis is just great, if we're being honest. Oh, wait, let me talk about RE4 first. Hold on. So the original RE4, on the other hand, well, no, I already talked about it in the comparison. I sucked that game's dick enough. My throat hurts. The Nemesis in your first playthrough is up here. Nemesis on subsequent playthroughs is down here. Because when you know where the choices lead and where Nemesis spawns, the game loses a lot of its luster. And when you actually figure out the dodge mechanic, the gameplay difficulty just falls off a cliff. So this is the easiest of the classic Resident Evils, and it's the most metagamey, knowing all the positions beforehand, and there's no way to not metagame it. Once you know where he spawns, and once you know how the dodge works, choosing to not fight him for the upgraded weapons is just an objectively wrong choice all of the time. You are never in a position where you're like, oh, I can't fight Nemesis, I don't have supplies. You know exactly where he is. And you know fighting him gives you a weapon that, even if it takes all your supplies, will be so efficient for the rest of the game that it's always worth doing. You can't not know that after you've experienced it. Raccoon City is great. First off, I want to say, this guy's design is so fucking godlike, people mod him into games to this day. This is Ghost, by the way. Second off, from the one Resident Evil movie, Hack the Nemesis, that game mode is fucking awesome. So Nemesis spawns randomly on the map, and it's basically like a King of the Hill kind of thing. It's like Hardpoint from COD. If you control the hardpoint for long enough, it activates, and it's Nemesis, and he just walks around and like, miniguns people. It's cool. This game has a great sense of progression, as in you have to replay the campaign multiple times and at least once on professional to unlock all the really good stuff. It has great PvP multiplayer, just good time all around. Resistance is... I like it. I like playing the mastermind. I like activating the traps. Honestly, Resistance might actually just be up here, but we'll put it at the top of good. Resistance is really good, honestly. If you haven't played it and you don't know, you're like, Tanner, what the fuck is Resident Evil Resistance? Just real quick, RE Resistance. The way this game works is you are a mastermind, and you have an overlay where you get to activate traps and spawn enemies and shit like this. So it's like right here. He's playing Nikolai, the military guy. So he activates a gun turret. First he uses an ability to stun them. Then he uses a gun turret. And he can you can spawn tyrants. You can spawn zombies. Each room you get to plan a setup. This game, honestly, for me, this game is closer to up here. It's not perfect, but this style of game, being a mastermind, spawning in, basically you're like a dungeon master. And I fucking love that. I have to put it down here because it was under budgeted. It didn't really get to execute on all it wanted to do. Personally, the idea is up. Okay, the idea is up here. My personal take is like around here, but I understand that because of the limited scope, it just kind of hovers around here. Outbreak 2 is great, and it's a lot better than Outbreak 1. It's Outbreak 1 with better characters and a lot more to work with. I never played Survivor. I never really got into Revelations, but I really got into that one game mode in Revelations where it was like their take on Mercenaries. And I know both the Revelations just kind of hover around here. I played through them like one time and that was it. They weren't anything special, but they weren't bad either. Village, however, Village just kind of belongs down here. Suck it, fanboys and Lady D Coomers. Village is just not that great, if we're being honest. They leaned way too hard into the RE4 nostalgia without doing enough to actually differentiate it. You know, too much merchant cringe, too much depending on, look guys, look, it's RE4. Ethan is fucking stupid. He's both stupid as a character and I don't like him as a protagonist. Mia is fucking retarded. Really, the whole setup. RE Village is great for the first quarter. You know how the best part of Resident Evil 4 is the village section? Yeah, RE8 has the same thing going on. The first, 25-30% of the game is really good. And then the rest just kind of falls off a cliff. And RE4 kind of had that same thing going on, but it didn't fall off until the very last, chapter 6. Whereas Village falls off much harder. And much sooner. I just don't like anything about Village. I don't like the changes to Chris. I don't like the new timeline. I don't like the fungus. I don't like any of it. Resident Evil 0, if there was a tier in between great and good, that's where it really belongs. We'll put it in great. It is still the good classic Resident Evil, but I can understand getting annoyed by Billy and the partner management. I like it. It was unique. There's no other game like it. If you said it hovered around here, I could understand that, but for me, it's up there. Near. Go ahead. Get angry. Type the comment. The only people who don't like this game are people who jump on bandwagons. Because this game has better gameplay than RE4. Straight up. Straight up, I'm telling you, it does. It has the same gameplay loop of try to conserve ammo, walk up, shoot, melee them, then knife them. But you've got melee combos, you've got more points to shoot to cause those melees, you've got more options to work with. While yes, the progression is lacking and it's not a cohesive one through finish experience, I really value RE5. And as a child, I spent hundreds of hours just co-oping with random people, helping them through, playing the game. I loved it. I loved hoarding resources, stockpiling ammo. This game, for me, as I don't know what it is, but this game, really tickles my autism, and it might just be my favorite Resident Evil of all time. I understand if you are a die-hard classic Resident Evil fan, this is, the bane of your existence, and you probably have it, all the way down here. But, I am not a die-hard classic Resident Evil fan. I fully accept that the newer games do a lot of stuff better. And RE5, I really like the progression. I like hoarding the resources. I love co-op. I don't view co-op as a downside because I'm okay with Resident Evil not being a horror series and just being a good game. Dude, Resident Evil 5 could straight up not be a Resident Evil game. You could just straight up make it a standalone game on the Xbox 360 and I would still fucking love it for its gameplay alone. Anyway, Darkside Chronicles was just a better version of Umbrella Chronicles. Also, it expanded on Leon and Krauser's story, which is huge bonus points for me. Outbreak 1 is just worse Outbreak 2. Biohazard is about as good as modern Resident Evil gets. RE7 was great because Ethan was barely a character. Again, this has the same problem all Resident Evil games do, where it really falls off near the final act. Like, what the fuck was that ending? That was stupid. But I can't ignore how goddamn good the game is when you're playing through it. Sure, Ethan's stupid. The family's a little over-exaggerated. But I'll be damned. Dude, this is a game you could play without subtitles and with dialogue off, and it's great. Also, I just gotta say, as a huge VR enjoyer, fuck, dude. Fuck, dude. RE-verse is really not for me. It honestly should be down here. I'm not a Dead by Daylight fan, and this is basically... If you don't know what this is... RE-verse gameplay. This is like Dead by Daylight-ish PvP kind of hybrid fusion where you have like some monsters and it's also like a big battle royale. It's weird, dude. It is just not good. Honestly, I'm going to put it down here. I don't like the idea. I don't like the execution. It's kind of like Marvel versus Capcom, where it's just like, let's get all these iconic characters in the franchise in one place and have them fight. But I just do not like it. I never played Survivor because I never had a PlayStation 1. Umbrella Corps was not bad. It really was not bad. Umbrella Corps is a game that people love to hate on because they barely played it. And let me pull something out. Hold on. RE Umbrella Corps Angry Joe. So Umbrella Corps was unfortunate because it came out 7 years ago. And do you know what happened 7 years ago? 7 years ago was when this persona was really popular on YouTube.
Capcom and Umbrella Corps. And if
where it's right here. This
Tell
shit.
me, how do I...
Getting angry, yelling, and the I'm pissed off style of review was really popular on YouTube around this time. So when a very non-traditional game came out, people immediately rejected it. But if you actually play... See, look, we bought the worst Resident Evil game. Forcing myself to play the worst. Everyone just presupposes that it's the worst. But, like, really ask yourself, have you ever actually played it? Because if you actually play it, it's pretty fun. You just spawn in, and it is like Resident Evil 6 kind of Mercenaries, but really fast-paced. This guy fucking sucks, by the way. But basically, you're just going through these pre-made maps, and it actually has a lot in common with Dark Tide, believe it or not. You are going through these maps, trying to go through them quickly. You're trying to pick up objectives while getting as many kills as possible. And it's hard to explain if you haven't played it. It is just a different thing. It's not good. It's not bad. Sure, but this is the thing, right? This game came out with microtransactions on the heels of like Evolve, and when it was super popular for YouTubers to just vehemently rage at everything. So it created this negative bandwagon effect. And the game never really got a chance to shine. If the game came out now, when far worse systems of microtransactions were normalized, it was just ahead of its time, frankly. If this game launched today, it would be like a 1,000 person on Steam. You could find lobbies after like a 2 or 3 minute wait time kind of game. The Resident Evil 3 remake, though, is also pretty bad. They cut out way too much fucking content. It's not even the same game. Also, they straight up assassinated Jill. RE3 remake Jill has nothing in common with the original Jill. She is legitimately a different character, completely. And I think she's far worse. She's way more girl boss, fucking, yeah, you know, women, fucking girl power. Eat this, you piece of shit. Like, she went from sassy and capable to straight up overpowered Mary Sue. If you want a good example of this, RE3 remake ending, or no, the final boss fight. Yeah. Yeah, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where does she hold the massive gun and she's like, eat this? Look, all I'm saying is, listen, girl, you're as scrawny as I am, okay? Look at this. Look at how stupid it is. This, to me, is as ridiculous as Chris punching the boulder. Girl, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Your boobs are beefier than your biceps. This fucking weapon probably weighs like 60 pounds. There is no way you can pick this fucking thing up, let alone whip this shit around. Bro, Carlos would struggle with this. You know what I find funny about this, by the way? RE5, Chris versus Excella boss fight. RE5 Chris, you know that giant roided up fucking freak? If he was gonna use a big special weapon, something like this, it required... I know it uses the RPG animations, but it gets the point across. This requires his full attention, both hands, etc. Just like the minigun, just like all the special heavy weapons do. Whereas then you have Jill, who is just straight up fucking throwing around these weapons that are like 100 pounds. It is just full of feminist girl boss fucking girl power shit, and it is just... she went from likable to like... She went from likable to Rey from Star Wars, basically.